Have you ever been reading the Old Testament and stumbled across this kind of weird phrase, the sons of the prophets? Who were these guys? Was it some kind of ancient family business where you inherited the job from your dad? Well, let's dive in and uncover the real story behind these pretty mysterious communities.
I mean, at first glance, the phrase seems pretty straightforward, right? When you hear sons of the prophets, your mind immediately goes to kids taking over the family trade. And that's a totally natural assumption to make, but the real story is so much more fascinating, and it actually unlocks a much bigger picture. So, the short answer to that question, not really. The key to figuring out who these people actually were is hidden inside a tiny linguistic clue from the original Hebrew. And believe me, this one little detail, it changes absolutely everything.
All right, to crack this mystery, we're going to have to put on our translator hats for just a minute. We need to look at one crucial clue that's buried right there in the ancient Hebrew text itself.
Okay, so it all comes down to this one Hebrew word, ben. Now, it absolutely can mean a literal biological son, but it also has another very common meaning. It can refer to a member of a specific group, a particular class, or even a professional guild. And this isn't some rare, obscure thing either. This is all over the Old Testament. Like in Nehemiah, the sons of the singers aren't the musicians' kids. They are the singers. They're the choir. In the Psalms, sons of strangers is just a way of saying foreigners. And in 2 Chronicles, the sons of the troop, you guessed it, they're the soldiers themselves.
So, you see where this is going. Once we apply that same understanding, the puzzle basically solves itself. The sons of the prophets weren't the prophets' children. The phrase simply means members of the prophetic group, or, as it's often translated, a company of prophets.
Okay, so they were companies, or groups. Got it. But this leads us right into another really common misconception, this idea that these were formal schools for prophets, almost like an ancient seminary. It's a really popular image, for sure, but it's time to bust that myth. And here is the single most important piece of evidence. I want you to listen closely. The phrase school of the prophets appears exactly 0 times in the Bible. Nowhere. It's an idea that got added on way later, but it has no basis in the original text at all. And when you dig in, the whole school theory just completely falls apart. There's 0 mention of a curriculum, no formal training. In fact, think about it. The greatest prophets were called directly by God right out of their ordinary lives. Amos, for example, was a shepherd and a farmer. These groups were more like prophetic communities, maybe living in the same neighborhood. Not some isolated monasteries for students. Now, it's inside these very communities that a pretty dangerous rift started to form, and this brings us to the real dramatic heart of our story, the great divide between the authentic prophet and the, well, professional one. You see, as these companies got more established, some of them started to, let's just say, they lost their way. They basically turned into professional guilds, where prophecy was just a career path. Their motivation shifted from speaking God's truth to just earning a living, or worse, telling powerful kings exactly what they wanted to hear to get some royal favor. And this clash of ideals, it is captured perfectly in one of the most intense showdowns in the entire Old Testament, the confrontation between Amaziah, the official priest of the king, and this outsider prophet, Amos. So, Amaziah just cannot stand Amos's message of judgment, so he tries to kick him out. But listen really carefully to his accusation. Earn your bread there and do your prophesying there. You see? He just assumes Amos is another professional, that he's only in this for the money. And Amos's response, it is the stunning rejection of that entire system. When he says, I was neither a prophet nor the son of a prophet, what he's really saying is, hey, I am not one of your kind of prophets. I'm not a member of some professional guild that works for a paycheck. I'm a shepherd, and God gave me a message to deliver.
And this whole exchange just brilliantly lays out the 2 different kinds of prophets running around back then. You had the canonical prophet, like Amos, who was called directly by God, was totally independent, and spoke the truth no matter how much it cost him. And then you had the professional company prophet, who was often tied to the royal court, motivated by a paycheck, and was way too willing to say what was popular, not what was true.
This entire conflict really forces us to ask the most fundamental question of all. What does the word prophet actually mean at its core? This gets right to the heart of everything we've been talking about.
So the most common Hebrew word for prophet is nabi. And the very first thing we have to get straight is that its essential meaning has very, very little to do with predicting the future. That's a huge but really common modern misconception.
A massive clue actually comes from the ancient Greek translation of the Old Testament. The word they used was prophetes, which you can probably tell is where we get our English word prophet. And it breaks down perfectly. Pro means for or on behalf of, and the root femi means to speak. So a prophet is simply someone who speaks for another.
So here it is, the big takeaway. A prophet was not primarily a foreteller, someone who predicted the future. A prophet was a forthteller, a spokesperson who spoke forth God's message to the people right in their own time and place. And you know what? The Bible itself gives us the clearest possible definition. In Exodus, when Moses is complaining that he's not a good speaker, God says, "Don't worry about it. Your brother Aaron will be your nabi, your prophet." Aaron was literally going to be Moses' mouthpiece, his spokesperson to Pharaoh. That right there is the fundamental model of what a prophet is. This powerful verse from Deuteronomy is basically God's own job description for a prophet. I will put my words in his mouth, and he will tell them everything I command him. It's all about being a faithful messenger. So the real question this leaves us with is this: are we looking for voices that claim to tell us the future? Or are we listening for the voices that dare to speak truth to the present?